Hi everyone, welcome back to the Lawful Player Society. This is Derek, and today I'll be talking to you about inspiration, where to find it if you can't get it, and where to go if you have writer's block. I know a lot of players and DMs out there kind of suffer from a lack of creativity at some point. I mean, we all do. We all get writer's block from time to time. So I've developed 5 places where I go when I'm really just don't have any creative spark and I just can't find a solution to a problem that I have within a game. First place I go is Facebook. Facebook has a lot of forums and groups specifically made for role players and Dungeons & Dragons players. I'm a part of quite a few of them. All you have to do is really type in Dungeons & Dragons or 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons role playing. Within the search bar, a whole bunch of groups will come up. Just click on one. Usually you have to be approved before they are added to the group, but I've never not been approved. So I'm pretty sure as long as you just apply, you're good to go. So the good thing about these groups is there are thousands of people within these forums and groups on Facebook, and they're all there to discuss their love of role-playing games, and they're there to kind of act as a hive mind for you. So there's going to be discussions going on all the time about rules, about creative solutions, about campaigns, about pretty much anything you can think of that has to do with role-playing games. So the good thing about that is within those discussions you'll often find inspiration, but if you don't find inspiration within these discussions, you can ask questions on these forums and have hundreds of people respond to them. That'll hopefully help you kind of develop a creative spark. I know, for example, I post questions there all the time. I had a scenario where I needed to find out why one of my characters would have done a certain thing and how a town would have reacted to it. And I posted it right on the discussion board, and I had hundreds of people respond to me, come up with all kinds of creative solutions. I didn't actually end up using one of their solutions verbatim. I modified one of them, but that's the beautiful thing. You can use their solutions right off the bat as they're given to you, or you can modify it in your own way to kind of fit your own campaign. But they're a good resource and a good starting point to get inspiration if you've lost it, and it's a pretty good resource. Second place I go to is books or movies. I know a lot of people aren't into reading. I love to read. As you can see, I have a whole shelf of books behind me. But as good as books are movies, and within books and movies, if you just want to sit down and casually relax and kind of take your mind off your problem, I find that while I'm reading or watching a movie, the solution will be presented to me. And then one of the glorious things about books and movies is you'll have questions answered that you didn't even know you had. So I'm creating a world right now, and I needed a culture for one of the civilizations, one of the races within my world. And I was watching Vikings on the History Channel, a great show, and I decided, I really wanted my Goliaths in this world to kind of be similar to Vikings. Now, of course, there are huge variations, but it gave me a starting point, and it kind of helped inspire me and helped push forward this idea of the Goliath civilization within my mind. And I didn't even know I was really had that question yet. So if you are kind of in a writer's block, or you are developing something, I always suggest go look at a movie and take a break, read a book. Just let your mind relax, and you're going to have those questions answered for you while you're just kind of relaxing and enjoying either the good movie or good book. There's so much good literature out there, and there's so many good movies out there, especially in the fantasy genre now. So just take a break from your problem, and the answer will come to you. The third place, I apologize. Third place, obviously, is YouTube. You're on it right now, listening to me, but there are hundreds of thousands of channels dedicated to role players, to all kinds of nerdy things, fantasy things, for world building. There's a huge crossover between role-playing games and writing books. So you don't even have to look at role-playing channels. You can go to channels that focus on world creation. You can go to channels that focus on creating characters for anime. You can go to channels that focus on character building for comic books, etc. There are so many different channels on YouTube that you can go to kind of help inspire you. For Dungeons & Dragons, I would suggest Fistful of Dice. It's a great channel. Anyone a part of the Absolute Tabletop group, it's Be a Better Game Master, WSAD 20, Tabletop Terrors, they're a great group. I grew up watching them, and they've kind of helped inspire me over the years with different problems that I've had. So honestly, just go out, watch any video on YouTube, and it'll help kind of get the gears in your head moving. Another place, art. I use Pinterest a lot, and that's kind of my exposure to art. But obviously, there's classical and medieval art. The beautiful thing about artwork is it says 1,000 words, and I know it's really, really cliche to say that. However, I can look at a piece of art and say, okay, where would this be in my world? Would it be in my world? Is it otherworldly? And it can kind of help me narrow down and describe a scenario or scene just by looking at one picture, and it'll help inspire me to put this place in my world, and why would it be there? And art asks so many questions of you if you're going to use it in your game. If there's the depiction of a battle that you're looking at, why is this battle taking place? Who are the main characters of this battle? What are the races of the people? What countries are they from? Are they fighting over resources? Does one side clearly have an advantage? There's just all kinds of things that you can ask from a picture that'll help kind of spur your mind forward, and could inspire a session or an encounter or anything really. Maybe an entire campaign leads up to that one picture, that one battle, that one place. So when in doubt, art. Honestly, art is usually my go-to. I love just scrolling through Pinterest and looking at different artists and different pictures, looking at different depictions of races. I mean, within the world that you're creating, your races might be a little bit different. I mean, my elf might be different than your elf, my dwarf is different than your dwarf, and etc. And I think art is a great place to kind of see how those differences come to life. If you're an artist, just sitting down and sketching might help you kind of overcome that writer's block. I can't draw, so I'm kind of at the whim of other artists, but I find that it's perfectly fine, and I love looking at art to kind of inspire me and move me forward. Lastly, you can use the real world as inspiration. Real world events can kind of translate to your fantasy games. Real world places can translate. For example, let's look at the Statue of Liberty. If we're looking at your own campaign, are there other statues in your world that kind of look like the Statue of Liberty or kind of serve the same purpose? They were a gift from another country as a sign of peace, and it represents the whole mantra of a nation. You can use natural disasters, for example, earthquakes. You can use firestorms, all kinds of things. The real world is something that we're all attached to, so it makes it very easy to pull into your game because your players can usually all relate to it, and they've all had some moderate experience with it, especially if they're an operating being within this real world. However, the only thing that I will say about using real world events is be careful. Some events are kind of off limits, obviously. For example, 9/11. I wouldn't use something similar to that, especially if one of your players have had some attachment to that. Even though this is a fake game, using real-world scenarios can be a little bit dangerous because they can elicit very real emotion. So I would stay clear of anything that definitely has a huge negative connotation and might affect one of the players. I know a lot of people who play D&D are past soldiers and past veterans. So maybe steering clear of using real-world wars is a good way to go. Just be careful, honestly. Just really be careful when you're pulling in real-world things. But other than that, guys, those are my 5 places to go if you're not feeling inspired. So I hope you benefited from this video. Happy gaming, and as always, may your dice roll 20s. See you guys.